Jae-hyuk is a young man who finds employment at the Hambil nuclear power plant, the sole employer in their town's namesake, an aging facility that is now building a second reactor unit. Jae-hyuk resides with his mother, sister-in-law, and nephew Min-jae after losing his father and brother while employed at the plant during his childhood. Jae-hyuk wants to leave the town and the plant and work on a fishing boat to support his family, but everyone he knows, even his childhood friend fiancé Yeonju, discourages him. Pyong-suk, a senior operator at the plant, tries to convince President Seok-seok to shut down the facility, along with other plant workers and anti-nuclear activists, because safety inspections were rushed during the first unit's construction. However, the Prime Minister and the other senior operators at the plant ignore their concerns. The town's nuclear reactor overheats after an abrupt earthquake. Efforts to lower the temperature of the overheating reactor fail because of outdated safety systems. As a result of the lack of a backup plan, the town streets became impassable as the administration of Hang fought tooth and nail over whether to evacuate the residents closest to the reactor or to let the reactor release radioactive particles into the air to relieve pressure from the core. In the end, they decided to evacuate the residents closest to the reactor. Most of the plant workers, including Jae-hyuk, who succumbs to nuclear radiation poisoning, were killed or injured when the reactor building exploded due to this critical delay. People living in close proximity to the reactor are placed under quarantine by the KCDC. Except for Mi-suk, a junior nurse who is now caring for Jae-hyuk and other plant workers, Yeonju, and the majority of the nurses leave the town after receiving proof of the reactor's explosion. They lock the evacuees inside the evacuation center and set up an internet jammer. A group of townies, led by Yeonju, are able to escape the evacuation center and take over a bus so that everyone can get out of there. Some firefighters begin to experience radiation poisoning despite their best efforts as the reactor persists in overheating. Finally regaining composure after being demoralized since the power plant explosion, Hang instructs the firefighters to use seawater to effectively decommission the reactors. After learning that the earthquake is causing spent fuel rods to lose coolant, Hang goes on national television to ask for help from the plant workers in sealing the tank's cracks above the waste room. The army refuses to do the operation, so Hang asks the workers to pitch in. Even though Jae-hyuk feels resentment towards the government for their indifference, he agrees to go with them for the people's benefit after being persuaded to do so by his friend Gil-seop. After calling Yeonju, Jae-hyuk and the rest of the crew who managed to escape take a bus back to town. They were instructed to withdraw from the area after the crack beneath the coolant tank widened during their operation. To make a new tank out of the spent fuel rods, Jae-hyuk proposes they lock the door and detonate the tank, sending the debris tumbling down into the basement. Unfortunately, given the current circumstances, it is imperative that both of these steps be carried out concurrently. Otherwise, one of them will not survive. After becoming too ill from radiation poisoning to continue, Jae-hyuk volunteers to sacrifice himself so that the workers can seal him in the waste room and escape. He is the only one in the group who can operate explosives. Before blowing up the tank and killing himself, Jae-hyuk uses the camera mounted on his helmet to send a goodbye message to his family and Yeonju.